But yeah, I don't know. Just thought it'd be Cartrell's in the room too, so I don't know. I just sent it out on Facebook and see if anybody can join in. Maybe Brandon Cartrell joined in, so I don't know if Adamson would join.
Yeah, you ever thought about moving to Hawaii?
I've actually never been to Hawaii, but I don't know, maybe I'd visit. I don't know about moving because once you're in Hawaii, your only access is Hawaii and the ocean.
I'm scared of being landlocked like that.
Yeah, that's
Well, it's more like ocean. It's more like ocean locked.
Ocean
It'd be
locked.
kind of like living in
Right.
Japan. When you're basically surrounded by the ocean.
well, in
Right.
Japan at
Yes, I'm
least you have
scared of
everything.
islands.
And you have everything, so it's not like it's that bad, unlike Hawaii, where it feels like you're only limited to what Hawaii offers, and it's a lot that much. So I don't know how to do it. But how's everything doing, Moses?
I just have this impression that it's very small. Very small. The islands are very small, but maybe they're bigger than I imagined.
I've never been to Hawaii, so it's whatever.
Whenever I think about Hawaii, it's just three words pop into my head: West Coast redneck.
Really?
I mean, yeah. I mean, Hawaii has to probably be like the most redneck place on the West Coast, aside from like Alaska.
aside from Alaska's more like barren wasteland. That's like
Well,
there.
it is cold as hell.
Barren Alaska is like the most remote place ever. There's like nothing there. It's just like football and a bunch of Eskimo girls, pretty much.
Well, at least about Hawaii is that even if you're like in a remote area, you can like surf. There's some hot chicks in bikinis and stuff.
Yeah, that's always
tropical food.
It's always a fun thing to think about.
It's always like a cool 70 degrees outside, so there's that.
What else has been on your mind?
Well, nothing much. Just how dumb American politics is. Like, I wonder what the rest of the world just thinks of our political system. They just probably think we're retarded.
Not really. It's more like I think people are pretty neutral. It's just like I would think the opposite, where people want to get in America. It's not like people don't like America. It's like people like America because of free stuff, but I don't know. Right?
I forget where I read it, but I think it was someone was talking about going to France, I think, and the anti-American sentiment being higher than he's ever seen or something like that.
Yeah, I don't mind anti-Americanism because I don't really care.
You don't mind what?
I don't mind anti-Americanism.
Oh, right. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I thought about it, it wouldn't bother me. I guess it's kind of an innate feeling of like take care of your own country or something, like mind your own business. I don't know.
Well,
if it's like critical in ways that aren't helpful, I guess that's what I mean.
Well, I've never really been to Hawaii, so I can't really say much on the matter. I have plans going to Tokyo, but I just feel like if I go to Tokyo anytime soon, it's going to just be on vacation, not exactly living there, because there's a difference between living in a country that's not your people versus, visiting and vacation just for like a month or two. And I don't know. I just feel like you can only find a comfortable space if the people around you want you and welcome you, and kind of transforms your reality in a way. So I don't know. I think there still is this kind of explorer mentality among the West where they can just go to Italy or France or India and just say, this place is my home, until the government kicks them back to their home country and then reminisce on their old memories of saying it was the best time of their life,
You think that's exclusive to the left?
No, I think that's both left and right. I don't think it's just left wing. I think it's just like any.
Exclusive to normies.
Yeah, it's more like to normative behavior. I'm just picking up something from stuff white people like. Christian Lander said the same thing, but said
So
that.
you're gonna be miserable wherever you go. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know. What if I actually like the place? That's the thing. And even if I go
Yeah.
there, it's like I don't mean sound like a pessimist. It seems like everybody wants to leave their home country and move to Canada or move to some non-white super state. But it seems like that place is only Japan, really. It seems like normies always want a plan B to something they don't like, and they want easy ways out, like finding
That's just
girls,
because we're spoiled. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
I
like
mean, but
finding girls in the
you
Philippines.
got problems. You got problems everywhere you go. There's no such thing as a perfect country. I mean, it doesn't exist.
They know that inherently. That's why no one ever moves to those places, even though they threaten it.
I don't know. I don't know what it's again. I think if you move to Japan or any place that's the non-white world, it's more like you have money to do so, or you have a wife that's like that, and that's like it becomes a balancing act between who you are versus where you want people to be or where you wish society was. And in other words, it's you're trying to make things more white so the society can comfort you.
Hey,
What do you're
I'm
trying to make things more white? What do you mean?
I mean, like.
You want a society that's more white?
No, no, no,
Is
no.
that
Not I'm saying in the typical white normie, like when they go to Japan or China and then they react to
Oh
something
yeah,
so alien, the first
yeah,
impulse would be like, "Oh, where's the cafe? Where's the Starbucks? Where's the
yeah.
McDonald's?" And then they prefer that society than claim to like the authentic society and living out in like Japan wilderness at a Shinto temple, right? Something very
Yeah, of
like
course.
I don't know. It's whether that's a normative bourgeois technological thing or I don't know how to
Yeah, I mean, before, I mean, there used to not be that kind of tourism. I don't know anything
it's not even
too much about it,
tourism.
but it's like,
It's
it
like they
seemed to have, I mean, that stuff happened in like the last century and a half or something, And before that, it
it's
was
like
just like, yeah, you don't go to those places because they're really dangerous and, you don't know anyone.
it's more like they want
you
to
know
what?
this
Christopher?
conversation has like a very home movies type feel. It's
Yes, it does.
What home movies?
It does. It does. Brandon
What's
and
home movies? Is that a
Brandon
certain
Paul
thing?
and Coach McGurk. It's like they squiggle like Mr. Katz. It's done in like flash animation, and they talk about mundane philosophy. Like it'd be like
Oh, okay.
Brendan. Did I tell you that I got up one morning and I put orange in my cereal? Yeah, what happened? Well, the lesson learned is that you don't need milk in your cereal because
Okay,
and it's
let's
just like
not.
that. It's just like weird coffee and cigarettes and monologues with
Oh
cartoon
yeah.
characters.
Okay.
It was like early
Yeah,
2000s,
I'm not a big Jim Jarmusch guy.
but that was the whole point. I mean, I
kind of
can't remember
true.
his name.
You don't really need milk with your cereal. I mean, it makes it taste better, but you don't.
I know that's just like a famous part in home movies. It was just this goofy ass like Coach McGurk being himself or something. I
Right.
just remember the one episode. It's kind of like Seinfeld. It's like there was the one episode where Coach McGurk wanted to be in the pizza club, but didn't get the cue. It was just for Brandon and his dad. And he would make a big assumption saying that he's paranoid and they're going against it. But he's like, no, you don't understand the basic of family. You have a pizza club because you're, and then he finally gets in the pizza club and he cries about it or something. Something really goofy.
Is this a cable show?
It was like in the 90s, like late 90s, early 2000s. It ran for like 3 seasons. It was like one of Adult Swim's first, like when cartoons were like actually were like sitcoms or something.
Gotcha.
Where do you live?
Me? I'm
Oh
in
yeah.
yeah, the Midwest.
Oh man, that place
Missouri.
sucks.
Yeah. No, not really. I mean, it's not bad. What about you? Are you on the coast or something?
Somewhere in the south.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the south. I thought it was Memphis.
Somewhere in the south.
You're now somewhere in the south. It's not Memphis anymore. That's funny.
Well, you know.
Yeah, I'm trying to move to Hawaii.
How? How are you gonna do that?
I don't know, maybe take like a plane one day.
Take like a plane one day.
Yeah, I want to move to like Koloa, Hawaii. It's a nice town.
Interesting. Yeah.
Maybe get like some South Pacific pussy, settle down.
All right. Sounds like a big dream. It's like, did you happen to catch me yesterday on Luke Ford?
No. What happened?
I was just on Luke Ford. And I was with Luke and Kevin Grayson for about an hour and a half. We were talking about gays, and we were talking about whether gay people were reared as, child molesters or is it a natural thing that occurs into pedophilia, or is it more is it more like a eroticizing everything? And when you're gay, you have to eroticize every man that you know, like your boss, your dad, and it just seems like a little ridiculous. But I don't know.
Do you do that if you're straight, like with women?
Well, I mean, the assumption is, well, if you're straight and you do it all the time with women, including your, a teacher, then it's like, all right, if you're gay, then assumably you do that all the time with men, and then do you do it with little boys, or do you do it with teenage boys? And then there's a fine line between like that and pedophilia, and it's like,
do you think it's a double standard?
I don't think it's a double standard, but I think it's like this type of irony that's, liberals or political correct people don't want to issue.
Yeah, because do you think there's a inextricable link between homosexuality and moral relativism?
I think it's more that if you are a homosexual, I guess you should have standards and believe in institutions and ethics of, having a possible lover as your own gender. But the thing is, or your own biological gender, but the thing is that, well, if you're promiscuous and into liking guys, then obviously that's not stopping you from having promiscuous sex with guys. And it seems like it's more advantageous to have promiscuous sex if you're gay compared to if you're straight, because, well, it's easy access. If you have a bunch of gay, horny young guys, then that's what they're going to do. And at that same time, if you're naked and you masturbate with one another, it seems like it's assisted masturbation or a type of consensual rape. That's how I feel it is. It's this kind of weird
consensual rape. Why is that consensual rape?
I feel that it's consensual rape because you enjoy something that it is like, if you hear the case of like a teacher raping a boy or a guy being sodomy, and it's like there's the point of being the bottom and like being the top, right? And someone in that relationship, if you're homosexuals and you're both gay, obviously has to be a sub and a dominant, and you can't really like have where you're both equal. You can't 69 one another unless you like both change the positions of being sub and dom. And so if one is forcefully to be the bottom, it seems like a raw crooked deal. And therefore, if you pass it and consent it as love, well, it's going to be hard to if you didn't like the relationship or if you have a one night gay stand. It sounds like you consented to your own rape that you didn't want. Unlike when you could have had a one night stand with a girl, and actually where it always is to be the dom, right? She's not going to peg you in the butt.
I'm getting confused. Why would someone submit to something they didn't want to do sexually?
I don't, yeah, it's not that they submit, like they can, that's what I'm saying. It's like they wouldn't know, or it's more like they were raped when they were young and they've developed a gay sexuality or this interest of daddy rape fantasies. And
are you just talking about yourself right now? I mean,
I'm kind of am, but I'm also talking about other gays as well. And so you kind of basically develop an interest in the bear mentality, but it's like, what is consensual? And if you supposedly enjoy it, even this sounds like libertarian as hell, is it even ethical to put you in a place where I enjoy being raped and being abused? To me, that doesn't sound healthy. It doesn't sound
You sound like Greg Johnson.
well, no. I mean, I tried
Just in that terms of like people don't in the end have agency because so many people make like will
yeah,
inevitably put themselves in like these terrible circumstances, and the only thing that could ever change that is like someone grabbing you by, you know, your back and pulling you out of it and forcing you to live a better life.
well, I mean, did you see my one video that I tried to do about the ethics of homosexuality and the way forward and examining gay porn? I tried to link an argument.
No, I didn't.
Okay, I'm trying. I tried to link an argument together in those two videos where I discussed that um that it's just almost unethical for homosexuals to put them in a place where they constantly want a daddy, hairy, fat lover, right? I think I think a lot of homosexuals prefer the aesthetically pleasing, meaning like the twink behavior or like someone who's feminine, someone who's this, and both gays happily consent to that. But then when you're like gay and you like are obsessed with this ugly, repulsive, kind of beer belly dad figure for your sexual partner, it becomes
I mean,
kind
sometimes I'm attracted to kind of repulsive women,
of well,
like Harry, and
yeah,
like
I mean,
maybe like
the power of Peter Sotos and Raymond Watts once
crooked
said
nose,
that a male slut,
cross-eyed.
a gay male slut, was nicknamed a pig. That you were a pig for like a promiscuous, ugly-looking gay guy that had a lot of gay sex. And that was called a pig. It's a really weird terminology, but if you think of that, the word pig means like disgusting, like a sow. He wants to suck any dick he wants, and so it's not aesthetically pleasing. It's not healthy in the relationship sense. And it seems to me that if you have a society that practices homosexuality, it seems like that the pig mentality is really different from the slut mentality. Let's say a promiscuous, ugly woman or something.
Yeah,
It is different, yeah.
Was that, Kershaw?
that made me think of something funny. Who
Yeah.
else thought that the guy, Aqua music video was gay? Like the bald guy.
What? Were you reading Brandon Abson's article about Aqua? Like Rabbit's article about that?
Yeah, like Barbie girl. Like,
Yeah, Rabbit wrote an article about that.
yeah,
That's funny you bring that up.
Barbie world.
It's a pretty good song.
I like Aqua actually. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to battle loss of words here, but I guess my argument I tried to do in my two homosexual videos was to say that if there's anything going to be progressive way forward for if you want to talk about gay marriage and having, if you want to say based homosexuals or like normal gay people, then obviously a standard of like love and institutions and like the ideal of this aesthetic, the pleasing has to come back, and not just this free form libertarian. Oh, it's your eroticism is whatever you make. If you want to have sex with bears, go ahead. It's
Yeah, that's kind of like a Milo sort of take on it, like a Camille Paglia kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
seems.
Camille Paglia.
Basically just saying like fags are really boring when they're domesticated, and there's something like they bring something special or something powerful, I don't know, to the world when they're, I don't know, maybe not normalized to some
Yeah, queer
degree.
theory. That's queer theory. Yeah, and
Okay.
and yeah, that's what they really talk about in queer theory. But it's interesting though because it brings up the question that like if you fight for gay rights, then it's like, are you really fighting for queer rights for like this decadent, crazy, promiscuous sex
Of
degenerate?
course not. No. Yeah, you're fighting for domestication. You're ultimately fighting for diversity, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I've
Like,
thought that's like a big thing in the homosexual question is like, and if you were to fight for domestication and just, oh, your sexual partner has ethics, then what do you do about the other gay culture? Do you downplay it? Or do you try to say, you've been hearing all this gay pride stuff where they glorify it, but this glorification's more turns into decadence, where it's like, it seems like it's more outrageously absurd than,
oh right, yeah. Sorry, that's why it's so ridiculous to fight for gay rights in the first place, because it inevitably moves the goalpost and starts to normalize all the kind of promiscuous, like detrimentally promiscuous behavior that comes with that lifestyle for probably.
I used to think girls who said they were lesbian were actually gay and only preferred women and didn't like men until I started to realize that most girls who say they're lesbian are actually really horny and they'll definitely try guys. It's just that maybe they had a bad boyfriend in the past that gave them a bad reputation for guys. And something.
Yeah, you should hang on. I'm gonna grab this book real quick. I'll be right back.
All right. But Cartrell, what's up? No, dang it. What's that?
There's a great article or a essay in this Camille Paglia book, Sex, Art, and American Culture. And she's got this.
I'm looking at my
essay.
Paglia books. I have Break, Blow, Burn, Sexual Persona, and Glittering Images. Those are the 3 books that are in my library. I'm looking at them right now. But you have...
Yeah, I have Sex, Art, and American Culture. It's
okay, I don't have that one. Okay.
It's a book of essays. I have Sexual Persona.
Yeah, I have Sexual Persona, and it's right next to Roger Scruton and Folklore Revival, Kitty Punk. I'm just looking at my library right now, but yeah, I see it. But that, yeah, it's interesting that Paglia, whatever says. I say Paglia.
I heard her correct somebody once and say it's Paglia.
Paglia. Camille Paglia. I guess the G is silent, but for a long time,
yeah.
Paglia. I mean, P-A-G-L-E-A.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's like, oh, I guess the G is silent. Paglia. Right. Camille.
Right.
Yeah, Camille. Yeah, whatever. I don't care. I don't even care about
Paglia.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't either.
I don't.
I just stopped caring about that entirely.
Yeah, I hate it when like people are like, "Oh, it's John Boulevard, not Boulevard," or it's Gil Deleuze, not Gil Deleuze. And it's like at that point, it's like it's a foreign language, so expect me to use English to my best to try, and you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter what the name I'm pronouncing,
Or when people, when weeaboos mispronounce Naruto.
Naruto.
No, it's pronounced Naruto. No, Naruto.
Yeah, that's how I think weeaboos would say that anyway.
Here's a good line. Every gay man is pursuing another man. Every gay man pursuing another man is recapitulating that civilization forging movement away from the mother. Lesbians, in contrast, refuse to leave the mother. Gay men may seek sex without emotion. Lesbians often end up in emotion without sex. Male homosexuality pushing outward into risky alien territory is progressive and overall intellectually stimulating. Lesbianism, seeking a lost state of blissful union with the mother, is cozy, regressive, and I'm sorry to say too often intellectually innervating, tending toward the inert. It's a really good essay.
No, that sounds really fantastic. I mean, the part about no sex but love, I think that's definitely a nail on the head about lesbians. Like, to me, it's like I used to get intimidated when dating girls who were like, they said they were bisexual or lesbian, because I was like, oh, she probably doesn't inherently like me. Now I realize it's just a trick, right? I can always change their mind, Yeah,
I think girls say a lot of shit they don't mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of them
Like
is.
that's a cool like to be bi. It's like that's kind of a
That's the
badge
new
of
cool.
honor.
And I used to think I did like literally like my current girlfriend says she's bi. I don't believe it, but I literally dated like two girls last year who said they were bi, and I was always my biggest mistake was believing they didn't care, and oh, they probably want a woman in the end, right? And then I realized they're just saying that because they had a bad relationship with a previous boyfriend, and you should change their mind by being a good boy, and then eventually 3 years down the line they'll say, "Oh, that was just a phase." But yeah, you make mistakes, and you have to learn about these things.
Here's another good line. Male lust, I have written elsewhere, is the energizing factor in culture. Men are the reality principle. They created the world we live in and the luxuries we enjoy. When women cut themselves off from men, they sink backward into psychological and spiritual stagnancy. I like that image. It's just like explains feminism rather than just, I don't know, you just imagine them in their like sort of rotting state, like criticizing
Well,
everything men
they're
built around.
shrewd. They're shrewd, and they're jealous that they didn't have a place, or they don't want. It's like self-hate. It's like white guilt feminism.
They have a place. It's a great place. They just resent it because I don't know.
They
I
resent it
don't know
because they
why.
want more. They want to be like men, or that's they wish they had. Like, yeah, I'm not even thinking it's about individualism anymore, or wanting to be men because they could just be a lesbian or something. But instead, it's more like they are just it's like anti-woman. It's just like being anti-white with white guilt. They just hate themselves. Um,
I don't know. I don't know if that's it or not. I
yeah, yeah,
mean,
yeah. I would agree because like I used to go to a women's college, and there would be all these like blonde-haired white girls saying they were feminists, but I was like, they're the most normative girls ever. They try to look like what they read in cosmopolitan magazines or some internet BuzzFeed tabloid. They say
saying you're
all
a feminist doesn't make you one, really.
exactly, and but they just said it anyway to get friends. And then like girls will gossip against other girls who don't say they're in group, and it's like this new level of cultural Marxism where it's like really not authentic, but it's just the nature of young girls being biologically girls, right? And so that's another thing. If you're a young guy and you see that, you're so fucking confused. What's going on, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're just being cliquey and
Yeah,
status seeking or whatever.
it's something like that. And the saddest part is that the companies or the academia allows it to happen, while like the old boomers and Gen Xers think it's revolution, when in fact it's just I don't know. It's like I don't know if they're really that stupid to believe they really authentically think young millennial girls think the way they do, or they are just inciting trouble and hostility.
Yeah. Yeah. So why are you into I'm going over my notes
Oh,
from reading your lexicon last week.
Awesome.
Pill leader.
What?
Did you hear that Stephen Hillenberg died?
You mean the guy who made SpongeBob?
Oh yeah.
Let me look that up if you're bullshit or not. Oh shit, he died. He died today. No, he died last night. Whoa. Sorry. So, SpongeBob SquarePants creator Stephen Hillenburg dead at 57. Stephen Hillenburg died the following battle of ALS, known as Lou Gehrig's disease. It's brain damage or some type. I don't know what it is. His battle of ALS. Interesting. Interesting. Well, I never knew the guy, except I knew he was like maybe a marine biologist and worked on Rocco's Modern Life. But fascinating, I will say that much. Though I don't think the integrity of SpongeBob ever came back after. I don't think the integrity of SpongeBob will ever come back. That's how I will say it.
Especially after the creators did.
But what were you saying, Moses, about stuff on the lexicon?
Why do you think where did you hear, or when did you start thinking the NBC and CBS logo were interesting?
Well, that mainly has to do with Sean Partridge and his work with the Partridge Family tree, because the Partridge Family Temple uses the CBS logo or everywhere, and it's the eye of the Illuminati. There's also a board game called Illuminati by Steve Jackson Games, and it's a game that makes fun of, it's Robert Anton Wilson's book Illuminati, which it comes from as well. And so it's really a joke how everything can be conspiratorial, or that everyone is paranoid at everything. And we also start to realize that the corporations around us are like godlike institutions. And it's weird to think that gods among us are like, in a Deleuze term, body without organs, or some machine. That it's not, people say God's not real and everyone's an atheist, but certainly the corporations are, and the corporations dictate our food, our entertainment, our ethics. Everything is decided. Even Donald Trump is their president, so everything becomes a crass meme from a popular culture age of Ronald Reagan. And so the new swastika is kind of like the NBC peacock, and it fascinates me because it's transgressive. I don't know if you read the my article I published a few months back about fast food fascism. I should do a screencast on that as well. It's about 6 months old now, but I tried to explain it as a new level of transgressive art and juxtaposition of collage art.
Transgressive art and the juxtaposition of collage art?
Well, I mean, it's transgressive arts. A lot of the early stuff was just juxtaposition of images together. Like,
right.
Yeah, you just show like an image of like some piss on like a character. You show kids among dead organs, right? It's trying to invoke feelings, and so juxtaposition of things is a staple of postmodern art, or some type of folk imagery. And I think the Partridge Family Temple does a great job with it, especially with the most mundane corporate imagery. Like, we really take for granted how much corporations and commercials, whether it's Liberty Mutual every day going liberty, 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 and we hear that hymn like some pagan chant, and what we think means is car insurance in 1,000 years from now could mean some voice of this generation. And so it really is like a Dom DeLillo crass white noise thing, but as well as shows you something about paganism in the materialistic age.
Right. So the Partridge Family Temple, they used the CBS logo mockingly, as if like
as like a way
man.
to incite and fence and being transgressive in punk rock music and whatnot. Yeah, they meant it in that way, where it's almost.
I've always really gravitated towards the NBC logo, and I've used it in collage art a little bit, and there's something really cool about it.
Well,
I don't see it as a swastika or anything, or representative of even like corporate.
Really, they're looking at us, and it's, people make conspiracy theories around it, where it's God's eye looking over everything. I like the NBC peacock a lot because it shows color, and there's a whole blog entitled "I Fear the NBC Peacock," and the guy talks about how scary it was as a kid when seeing the NBC peacock. But he also has an entire blog that during the 70s and 80s, you had like weird synthesizers and like kind of boards of Canada imagery of like dainted technology. There's another book too I really like, again, Folk Horror Revival Field Studies. You can get it on Lulu, but it's a genre that describes, folk horror. Like, I think, I don't know examples describe it, but they talk about this age in the 70s or 80s, or English kind of genre, talking about corporations or a dead period of time. And now technology is so advanced, you don't have that analog curiosity anymore.
No, that's gone.
Yeah, I would think Boards of Canada's Gio Gotti album is a perfect example of folk horror. It's horror music, but it's very scary, and it evokes a time of abuse, a bad childhood memory you don't want to relive, but it's there. And maybe
which Boards of Canada is that?
Gio Gotti, the second album. I mean, that's a lot of people get that same feeling by listening to box music. there's this theory. I did this in a video way back when it was the 20th anniversary of Music Has the Right to Children earlier this year in April. I said in that video, and I should do a screencast. I know I always say I should do a screencast, right? But I should make another informative video. That there was a Pitchfork article celebrating Music Has the Right to Children, but they said it in a way where, you know, it was really different from other trip hop albums because it sampled things from the 1960s and 70s, popular culture phenomenon, which today that translates to sadly vaporwave, things of the 80s. When people are into vaporwave, they're into a humorous, playful, happy way of nostalgia. The point is that Boards of Canada gives extremely negative energy. They give this very, you could say that first albums, those first releases were hip hop and trip hop oriented and more laid back breaks music. But it wasn't until Gio Gotti when it became full fledged into like horror music and just feeling completely uncomfortable when listening to the music. To invoke any happy memory from Boards of Canada is crazy. I don't even think you can feel the same thing about Tomorrow's Harvest, where they just repeated Gio Gotti. But the point is, I think, you know, this whole fast food fascism or like the NBC Peacock and these corporate logos really do make you think of a time or some paganism of folk horror that really controls us or something.
I guess I don't quite make that connection. I don't know if I'm supposed to. The connection between, I don't know, corporatism and paganism. I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's the joke, right? If white nationalists talk about like Burzum and like, you know, getting in roots with the esoteric paganism, right, of like Western European culture, right? What if in the year 3000 we look back on, you know, like artifacts today and we find Nintendo Entertainment Systems and CDs and you know, old 70s logo that are considered antiquity? How are we supposed to make of that new history and pull
You know,
on?
right? You know how people in the alt-right get really pissy if you bring up horseshoe theory?
Sort of.
It's like it's more like, no, it's more than a horseshoe theory. It's like this ideology is like just superimposed on like, I don't know, kind of, yeah, like this transgressive, like not hippie outlook. I don't know. There's like there's just so many similarities between.
I think centrists bring up horseshoe theory, and then far rightists get mad when you say, "Oh, you're just an effect with the horseshoe theory," because the far right says, "No, we're just talking about race realism and biological realities," right? And so, you know, again, it assumes that you're talking about social construction theory when you're talking about the horseshoe theory. But I think there's total truth to the horseshoe theory because it's definitely a balancing act between what is popular and what is not popular. And it's that.
Yeah, exactly. It's transgression versus like you know, mainstream mentality. Just being able to think in terms of race makes you almost identical to the far left. Like you're almost identical because the majority of people are going to hear it in very like they're going to receive that in very similar terms.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I've always said that, you know, we're not really, metapolitics is important, but at the same time, a lot of our outlooks have been influenced by what is popular through capitalism, and of course, the postmodernist and far leftist has been criticizing capitalism through, you know, this dense academic philosophical language. However, I think it's more like instead of thinking in terms of you know, popularity, it's more like cultural forces or metapolitics. For a long time, we had cultural Marxism, and I think now we're entering an age of cultural fascism, and eventually that cultural fascist age will be itself criticized, you know, creating the right-wing SJW. I know it sounds like a liberalist thing, but I just feel like there's this kind of again, it's like we have to think beyond the we have to think beyond the philosophy of just this is required, this is what we have to think in terms of being or generational conflicts and what's popular and, you know, what's best for humanity as a whole. Maybe I'm just thinking in this optimistic belief, but I tend to think that.
I'm wondering if the alt-right and I guess the far left, if it's made up of similar kind of personalities, um, like like should the alt-right be more interested in converting progressives, like far left progressives, instead of normies? Because like maybe normies will be into restricting immigration, and maybe they'll be the ones like on the battle lines fighting a civil war, but would they ever identify as like alt-right and all this? And then, you know, like, would they ever be interested in meta politics? Of course not. Like, but the far left, like, I don't know, you could definitely convert a few of them, and then you know, I don't know. It's just like you're still just in the pool of like, you know, outsiders.
What Greg Johnson tries to do is he's trying to fight for white identity politics or white racial politics, where both the left and the right are fighting for white survival, and that's the only thing that matters. And white survivalism should trump the right and the left, and that being in the right will create.
It does, yeah.
Being in the right, it creates a right wing ghetto, sectarianism. And Johnson said,
I hate it. I'm feeling that the last week. I'm just like, man, like since the midterms, I told myself, like, if Trump doesn't win, I'm tuning out, you know, because I didn't want to hear the media's reaction, and I just, you know, I needed a break from media consumption anyway. But then like once he like lost the house or whatever, I don't know if it's because of that. I think it's like the wall thing. I think everyone hit their wall. Like when the midterms came, just like, yeah, he's probably not going to build the wall. He's probably not going to fulfill the immigration, you know, promises. And then it's just like, and then all of a sudden I'm just bored with like identifying with the right, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I'm just I want to be free from that again, you know?
Yeah. I mean, again, I want bringing back, it's people are, or at least these talking about in terms of, instead of thinking of left wing, right wing, you have to think of political forces. And if Greg Johnson wants to focus on winning over whites and thinking in terms of beyond politics, then you have to appeal to both left wing and right wing. You could say it's centrist, but it's not like centrist ideology. It's just like making sure everyone gets along in a religious way.
Greg Johnson, he's like, you know, high IQ guy, like really smart. He's like, he's on the fringe, you know, like he's such a fringe person, and like that's part of what makes him cool. But like, I almost think like, is he naive? Like, what does he think? Like, how big does he think his influence can be? He probably doesn't think in terms of his personal influence, but like spreading his ideas in a way that more like, I don't know, people who can communicate with normies better would adopt his ideas.
He's obsessed with Freemasonry, and he's obsessed with this elitism which works behind the curtain. And
what is that word?
Freemason, like a Freemason.
He's into Freemasonry.
Yeah, he believes in this type of secret elitism. Back in an article in 2010 with Alex Kurtagic, Johnson says he doesn't want to be remembered in history. And this was before his face was revealed, right? Now he's doing everything public and his face is revealed. But when he was just Greg Johnson, like a Robert Smith, he said he wanted to work everything behind the curtain and just get.
So he probably doesn't believe that anymore, right?
Yeah, that was 8 years ago. Or that was pretty much 8 years. So obviously he is going to be a celebrity and people are going to remember him, and there's going to be a Wikipedia article about him. And so obviously there's no denying that an individual who's public changes everything. You can't just be secretive about it. But his philosophy has been that metapolitics, by working behind, changes everything. And you have to be, it's not about it's about these people in positions of power or secret agents that get across the view, but they're not public about it. And so, I don't know. Again, it's this kind of elitism that's annoying, but he wants it that way, and I never really agreed with it. But
I actually started kind of embracing that term a little bit. It's just like I do feel like at some point, I mean, it's always gotten like a, I guess it can be looked at from a couple different ways. I mean, there's the elitism of like career politicians, and then there's like, you know, the elitism of like tastemakers and people who are like are sophisticated in their kind of like worldview. And I don't know, it's not necessarily like a bad thing. It's like some people, it's like arrogance. It's like if you can back it up, it's like, well, then there's nothing wrong with it. But you know, like elitism that's unfounded by like, you know, I don't know, Hillary Clinton or something. It's like,
yeah, and they want to make like a Hillary Clinton. I do believe in some aspects that when the old people die out, obviously a new generation has to take their place. Whether that new generation is going to be taught the same ethics as what they're being taught, you know, from the older generation. But I always believe every new generation does something different, you know. So there's no. It's like there's like there could be like a far right elitist party, and then people forget, they don't even know what it was like to live in like the 90s or Gen X or Boomer, and then we could say in 200 years they'll be gone. And so I don't know.
I think Jonathan Bowden identified as an elitist. I think he's a self-described elitist. I think that's where I got that from. Like,
yeah. I mean, again, Johnson really likes Bowden. Half of Bowden's fame is when he died, everyone just started to publicly on the right, you know, talk about how much of a great figure he was and kind of mean him into existence. But
I mean, who doesn't like him? I don't know.
Yeah, he's great. And my whole podcast, Spinning Top Club, that was his self-publishing label that people tend to forget. That was Bowden's secret publishing house. And
if he was still alive, like I would try to like release music on his whatever publishing house. Like it'd be like, just make it.
Kurtagic has been the owner of all his material now, and he's been publishing all his secret diaries. Some of it's interesting, some of it's just rambling, and some of it's just like, I mean, I wanted to hear his autobiography, Kurtagic's official biography, but it never came out yet. It never came out. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to say about him. It's just like,
I just realized you were in a moderated video call. I just realized there's a mixer, an EQ. Is that right? Is there an EQ in Google Hangouts?
There is.
It's, I guess you can't do it if you're in a call.
I see the EQ thing. I don't know. Yeah, I just never mix it. Like,
I'd love to take up some of the highs.
Cameraman. Show or hide participants in your broadcast button. Oh, the guests join, hide their audio. Okay. Yeah, I don't really mess around with the. Okay, now, I don't really mess around with the Google Hangout stuff, but I should. It's whatever.